Plastics. These versatile materials, derived from fossil fuels, have become an inseparable part of our modern lives. Their journey began just over a century ago, driven by the need for cheaper, more adaptable material and packaging solutions. The unique properties of plastics have transformed various sectors. They are lightweight, making them ideal for efficient transportation and product use. Their durability ensures they last longer, while their versatility allows them to be molded into diverse shapes, fulfilling various functional and aesthetic needs. Have you ever stopped to think about the plastic you use every day? Plastic is a convenient material we use for many things, but it can also have a negative impact on our environment and health. Here, we'll learn about the plastic pollution and waste management challenges in Africa and how we can work together to address these.
Africa is the second most polluted continent in the world. So we know that there's an issue. We know that there's an issue for Africa, and we know that Africans need to take action. The global conversation at the moment is all good and well. There are targets that are being set, we know what we need to aim for, but we're not 100% clear about the steps that need to be taken. That is the context for the action plan that we are drafting as Sustainable Seas Trust in collaboration with countries all around Africa.
In the food industry, plastics have revolutionized how we store and transport food. The iconic PET plastic bottle, introduced in 1973, replaced heavier glass containers and offered a safer, fresher way to enjoy beverages. This innovation, along with other plastic packaging solutions, has contributed significantly to food security, particularly in areas with water challenges. From ensuring hygiene in medical equipment to providing the foundation for crucial medical tools like prosthetics, plastics have also played a vital role in healthcare advancements. Their presence extends beyond these specific examples, influencing industries like construction, textiles, and packaging. The benefits of plastics are undeniable. They have become so deeply woven into the fabric of our daily lives that it's hard to imagine a world without them. However, it's important to acknowledge and address the environmental challenges associated with their production and disposal, prompting the need for responsible use and innovative solutions for a sustainable future.
I am appreciative of the fact that plastic plays an important role within the African economy, and so I think we need to be very sensitive and aware in terms of how we respond to that problem. I think it provides a means in terms of food security, water security, healthcare issues. So plastic is important, but at the same time I think there are many products that we don't need to have in plastic, and there are many products we don't need on the market.
So in terms of research, SST is doing a lot of work in different environments. We have been doing litter accumulation surveys on beaches, and there we're looking at macro litter, which is sort of bigger than this, and we're looking at meso litter, which is about that size and smaller. We're also looking at litter in rivers. We're also looking at litter on the streets.
We at Wayomsa, we started at a ground level, mobilizing people to make sure that we all are on the same level when we're talking about marine waste and particularly plastics. This goes back to early 2000s. And recently we're working with the institutions in the region and particularly in Tanzania, some government institutes, to establish baselines because there was no really any information available in the country and in the region. So over the last 4 years, we have managed to establish baseline data when it comes to plastics and all aspects of the marine litter. So we have the database in place. You see, we are moving from the region to the continent. So it's a step forward. It's a process that has a long history, but now we're happy to say that we have contributed to the regional process.
Plastic items can end up in the ocean through various ways. When you intentionally and unintentionally litter items on the sidewalk, items can be blown away or blown from dump sites, for example, and all of that can end up in your stormwater outlets, which eventually lead to the ocean. So we are investigating the presence of plastic-related pollutants in commonly consumed seafood items, so like mussels and fish.
The full life cycle of plastic, from production and consumption to becoming waste, contributes to greenhouse gas emissions. These emissions trap heat in the atmosphere, fueling climate change and its consequences. But the impact of plastic pollution goes beyond rising temperatures. Our oceans and forests act as the planet's natural carbon sinks, absorbing vast amounts of carbon dioxide, and plastic pollution can disrupt these vital processes in two ways. Firstly, plastic debris accumulating in oceans and forests physically hinders their ability to absorb carbon dioxide. Imagine a clogged filter. The pollution prevents these ecosystems from functioning at full capacity. Secondly, the burning of discarded plastics as a source of heat and energy, a common practice in many African countries, releases harmful pollutants and greenhouse gases directly into the atmosphere. This adds another layer of potential environmental harm and can further accelerate climate change. By tackling plastic pollution at source, we can help safeguard these natural carbon sinks and reduce the release of greenhouse gases. It's a crucial step in the fight against climate change and building a healthier planet for all.
I think what a lot of people don't realize is that the economics of recycling is absolutely integral to the sustainable management of our waste. We need to understand that when we're thinking about successful recycling, we constantly need to be balancing between collection of recyclables, and here I'm talking about collection infrastructure, so bins that can collect recycling or separation at source at home. The actual recycling infrastructure or the capacity to recycle products. And the third thing is the end-use products that are made out of that recycled content. It doesn't help if a product is 100% recyclable, but it's not being collected and there's no end use for that product to actually be recycled into.
Africa faces several interconnected challenges in managing its plastic waste. Used plastic is often shipped from wealthier nations to Africa, adding to the existing waste burden. Existing waste management systems in Africa struggle to handle the current amount of plastic waste, leaving much of it mismanaged and polluting the environment. As African cities grow rapidly, more plastic waste is generated, straining already weak waste management infrastructure. A growing middle class leads to increased consumption and, consequently, more plastic waste. Local authorities in cities are crucial to finding solutions as they are responsible for waste removal and managing public spaces heavily impacted by plastic pollution. These overlapping trends create a complex situation requiring innovative solutions to manage plastic waste effectively in Africa.
We also know that there are differences in Africa in terms of waste collection coverage. So very often what we'll see is that in your CBD, your central business district, very often where your government buildings are, In your high-income suburbs, you'll have a formal waste collection service, but in your lower-income communities or in your informal settlements, you won't, and people won't have access to a removal service. And again, there are various reasons for this. Very often, there are differences in terms of willingness to pay for services, where your poorer communities just can't afford to or don't see the value in paying for it.
There are quite a number of resolutions that at a country level are being taken. For instance, the introduction of what you call extended producer responsibility. This is a policy intervention where it formally gives responsibility to producers, because waste that we see and we talk about has been a byproduct of products that have been put in the economy or in the market.
So we've had voluntary extended producer responsibility in South Africa now for a number of years. Some of the producer responsibility organizations like Petco go back to, I think, around 2005. And obviously those voluntary initiatives have already started to make quite a dent in terms of the plastic issue. So through those voluntary, we've grown to, quite good recycling levels already for some of the plastic products, but obviously still a lot more to be done.
Most West African countries have policies in place. So we have the Extended Producer Responsibility, EPR, which makes industry players responsible for the life cycle of their product. And it can also enhance recycling and closing the loop. We have sanitation and solid waste management policies in all or majorly all the West African countries. But how are they implemented and how are they enforced? If they are well implemented, it can be a driver for recycling in Africa.
As an industry and as packaging designers and producers, we have a responsibility to ensure that whatever we design a package, what is its end of life? What are we going to do with it after the consumer have used it or misused it? So design for recycling in products, I think, is crucial to ensure that they can be collected and they can be recycled and made into new end product.
Within a European view of the circular economy, often recycling is not viewed as part of the circular economy. But within Africa, South Africa and Africa, the informal sector contributing to the recycling economy is such an important part that we cannot say that recycling is not part of the circular economy. The informal sector contributes about 80% of the recyclables that are recycled in South Africa.
Our target 2 looks at design for circularity, and that means designing 100% of plastic packaging to be recyclable, reusable, or compostable within specific systems. And what's key here in terms of Plastics Pact is we're taking a design for circularity lens. So that includes a range of interventions. And what that also means is we have a very strong focus on maximizing and retaining maximum material value throughout the life cycle. So if you take, for example, a white milk bottle and a blue milk bottle, technically both are equally recyclable. But if you look at that milk bottle at the end of its first use, the white milk bottle has a higher value because you can't take color out of recycle it. So therefore their greater potential use is it's a higher quality material at the end of life. The blue bottle may be recycled, but it will be recycled with lower value. That material has less value end of life, which means the potential for that material to be circulated multiple times through the economy is much less than the white milk bottle. So we very much take a view of designing for maximum material value in multiple loop cycles.
But what we do know is that globally, waste pickers collect about 58% of all of our plastics, and that's huge. And we also know that in cities like Accra and like certain provinces within South Africa, Abidjan, and even Côte d'Ivoire and Benin, waste pickers are actually almost 100% responsible for all of the segregation that's done. One of the key findings is that waste pickers are the last individuals to adapt to technology that's available within the recycling field. A large part of it is because a lot of it is foreign technology, which is very costly for them to be able to obtain. As a result, it really limits what they're doing in the value chain. A lot of them, not necessarily by choice, are stuck at the very bottom of the value chain where they can do nothing but collect and sort. And of course, we have lack of access to infrastructure, technology, and transport. As discussed, transport is the #1 issue, and even lack of storage space. Most people store and sort at their home. But when you look at the communal structure of most of these homes, there's not a lot of space. So you can't collect large volumes of plastic and store for a long period of time. And it's also not very profitable to transport 5 kilograms of plastic at one time.
Our mission is to empower young people to develop local solutions to the waste challenges that we are facing in Ghana. What are some of the things that we've been doing over the years? A lot of emphasis on waste education projects where we work in schools. So we believe that if we work with young people right from the early stages, then they will actually make a big difference. So looking to really champion environmental education and also promote upcycling and recycling. And you see that a lot of the students, they make these projects as well. So we also then have a circular business incubation program, which we have a 6-month incubation program where we support young people to create businesses that promote circular economy. Businesses that are helping to reduce waste, businesses that are helping to tackle waste, businesses that bring alternatives to the market and actually help to promote a circular Ghana as well.
The UNEP Global Plastics Treaty presents a crucial opportunity for Africa. This legally binding treaty aims to combat plastic waste mismanagement and pollution globally.
So UNEP convenes what we call the United Nations Environment Assembly, UNEA, after every 2 years. And from 2014 until UNEA 5.2, which was held this year, there have been resolutions which are calling governments and the stakeholders to action to combat marine litter. The most significant that we have now is a UNEA 5.2 resolution on working towards an international legally binding agreement on marine plastic. At the regional level, especially in Nairobi Convention where I work, the contracting parties of the convention have also made various pronouncements on combating marine litter. For instance, the contracting parties asked the Secretariat to work with partners and develop a regional action plan on marine litter, which can support the contracting parties in terms of having measures to combat marine litter. This regional action plan on marine litter is already developed, it's complete, and it will inform development of marine litter action plans at national level.
So for the particular thematic that is plastic pollution, we have decided to work with SST because we want them to work for the Abidjan Convention drafting a new protocol that will be binding for all the 22 countries. Out of this protocol, they will write for us a regional action plan for plastic waste management. And now this regional action plan, we will send it to all the 22 countries. Each country will raise its own team of experts, lawyers, parliamentarians, environmentalists, and so on, based on the job that is being done by SST.
If we really think about across the African continent and we think about the problem of plastic waste, there is no one intervention that is going to solve the problem. We need multiple interventions, which means that we need stakeholders across the entire plastic life cycle to be involved. And I think that that's where we're looking at taking the new guide that is being launched and using that to help ensure that people are communicating in the same way, people understand the challenges in the same way. way and make sure that we're able to address these across the whole life cycle of plastic. Plastic is one of those things that we all use it, we all need it, but we need to work out how much do we need and how do we use it more responsibly.
There are so many organizations all around Africa that are doing really, really good work on the ground. There are a number of individuals that are giving of their lifeblood and their passion to address plastic waste in the environment and in the oceans. But we need to know about it. And the way we unlock those solutions at a regional level is through networking. We need to understand who is doing what within which country and how can we scale that up to a regional approach to address plastic waste.
The UNEP Global Plastics Treaty requires nations to develop action plans with specific goals, strategies, and monitoring mechanisms to reduce plastic pollution. These plans need to be adapted to each country's specific context, considering factors like income level, geography, and urbanization. As Africa rapidly urbanizes, cities become major sources of plastic waste. Efficient waste management systems in towns and cities are critical to address national plastic waste challenges. Addressing plastic pollution requires looking beyond just collection and considering the entire plastic life cycle, from raw material extraction to disposal. Opportunities exist at each stage of the life cycle, from eliminating unnecessary plastic items to designing products for reusability and choosing sustainable materials. Manufacturers can design for reusability and recyclability, while retailers can provide clear labeling to guide consumer choices. While individual choices matter, systemic change is crucial to address overconsumption driven by higher-level stakeholders in the value chain. Africa currently lacks the infrastructure and resources needed for efficient waste management. Addressing this gap is essential for implementing sustainable solutions. By working together at different levels and adopting responsible practices throughout the plastic life cycle, Africa can effectively tackle plastic pollution and create a cleaner and more sustainable future for all. Plastic pollution is a growing threat to our environment. To combat this challenge, African nations need clear and comprehensive action plans. These plans will serve as a roadmap to prevent marine pollution and manage plastic waste sustainably. The plan should be easy to understand and focused on practical solutions that are economically achievable. It serves as a binding document outlining national commitments. It must clearly define steps needed to address key challenges. This includes outlining actions at every stage of the plastic value chain, preventing plastic waste from entering the environment. The plan should integrate existing global and regional agreements to create a supportive environment for national policies aimed at tackling plastic pollution. The plan is a living document that follows the Plan, Do, Check, Adjust cycle. Implemented actions will be assessed and adjusted as needed to ensure progress towards set goals. Stakeholder consultation should be a key part of this process. Adjustments may also necessitate revising the plan's timeline. While data availability in Africa might be limited, the plan should still utilize the best available scientific knowledge and local insights. This data will be crucial for identifying key indicators to measure progress and maximize the use of limited resources. Cities and towns are the highest priority due to dense populations and large waste generation. Effective urban waste management systems are crucial for national progress. Peri-urban areas often lack proper waste management infrastructure. Action plans need to address their unique challenges. Rural areas generate less waste but may lack collection services. Action plans need to address specific issues like plastic mulch pollution in agriculture, microplastics in wastewater treatment sludge used as fertilizer. Sea-based sources are difficult to monitor and quantify. Action plans for coastal and island nations need to address waste from ships, fisheries, aquaculture, dumping at sea, ports and harbors, offshore oil and gas platforms. Overall, addressing plastic pollution requires a multi-pronged approach, tackling sources from land to sea across the full value chain.
The unique thing around the way that Sustainable Seas Trust is putting this action plan together is that it is very consultative. We have a network across Africa, and because this is a guidebook that is meant to help Africans address plastics in the environment, we need to consult with Africans. Therefore, we have run a number of webinars, a number of events from December of 2021 into this year to ensure that we are capturing as many voices as possible. Wherever a stakeholder finds themselves in the plastics value chain, this action plan needs to be able to enable them to stop plastics from entering the environment. If they are a converter of plastic packaging, they need to understand how to design plastics. If they are a consumer of plastic packaging, they need to understand what to look for when they are in the shelf of the retailer, what not to choose, which plastics are more recyclable, what does recyclable even mean? And when they are done with what's inside the plastic packaging, how do they dispose of it? How do they make sure that they are a responsible consumer of plastic packaging and a responsible disposer of plastic packaging? That's at the heart of the action plan.